Welcome to the Life Chat Podcast, seeking the truth with Derek Powell, navigating you through every Wednesday night. New topics ignite, join the journey, let's take flight. Bringing insights that change our view. Derek's voice, clear and true. Tune in each week, discover new light. Life Chat Podcast, reach a new height.
Whoa, my music cut off real quick, y'all. Anyway, welcome to Life Chat Podcast. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me tonight for our episode, The Meaning of Motherhood, featuring Miss Lakisha, my fault, Miss Lakisha Freeman. She'll get mad if I call her Keisha. She does not like to be called Lakisha. So Miss Lakisha Freeman. No, I just want to keep reminding you all what's going on. We're talking about motherhood. We're talking about balance between motherhood and the child. You know, how to maintain that balance. We're talking about experiences as a new mother. We're talking about past experiences from growing up. You know, and seeing how our mother raised. You know, watching how our mother raised us and dealt with our family as being children. So we're just going to elaborate, try to get Mr. Kisha to elaborate on specifics of her life, and hopefully help somebody else in their life with motherhood. And once again, I just want to discuss this weather. You know, I always talk about the weather, and it was extremely hot today for me. I call myself trying to ride the bike to Redner's. I almost melted, y'all. It was super hot to me. But anyway, we're going to get back to the topic at hand. Introduce Miss Lakisha Freeman, y'all. I think she just got off the airplane. I think she just walked through the little terminal and she hit the backstage. She's backstage. She hit the door. So here is Miss Lakisha Freeman, y'all. Hey, Miss Freeman.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm great. I didn't melt today. How about you?
I almost melted. I was on the bike. I went to the store. I went to Redner's and I almost melted. But
Wow.
yeah. So
I'm glad you're okay.
Let's talk a little bit about. I'm okay. I didn't fully melt. A little bit might have dripped off. But let's talk about Miss Lakisha. Who is Miss Lakisha Freeman? Give us a little backstory.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lakisha. Thank you for correcting that. Lakisha Freeman.
Yeah, I know you probably would have beat me up if I stayed with Keisha, if I called you Lakisha.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have got you. It's Lakisha Freeman. I am a mother of two living children. I'm also a grandmother of two and a mother to many others. I'm not a Delaware native, but I've lived in Delaware most of my life. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., but I've been here 30 plus years. So you might as well say I am a Delaware.
How many years?
40 plus years.
Well, okay then.
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't have a problem. I really don't have a problem telling my age. 40 plus years. Excuse me. I've been here 30 plus years. 30 plus years. I'm going too far there. So you might as well say I am a Delawarean. About me, professional woman. You know, I have my moments. We all do. But I'm a professional woman. You know, I balance motherhood versus work versus extracurricular activities versus life. And, you know, put them all in one big old ball and dribble. Do what you have to do. That's about the gist of Lakisha, to a degree.
All right. So when do you, as far as you, right, and your memories as watching your mother, you know, because you know we learn everything from our parents. We learn everything from our parents, and a lot of times it's the mother, because you remember the old saying, "Mama's baby, Papa's baby." Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. Mama's baby, Daddy's maybe. But yeah, you know, so we learn a lot from our parents, specifically our mother. What can you give us something about how you were raised and what you remember about your childhood watching as you watched your mother raise your sibling, and how did that bring you? How did that lead you to be the woman that you are today?
Understood. Well, She may be listening. I'm not sure, but she
Mhm.
may be listening. But I'll just keep it real with you. My mother was extremely strict, and it came because her mother was extremely strict. My mother was the baby of 12 kids. So her mother was extremely strict, especially with her because she was the last at home. So that carried over into her raising me. Now, keep in mind, my mother had myself as well as my older brother. Now, granted, boys have more leniency. Well, parents have more leniency with boys than they do with girls. Clearly, and I don't think there's many people that can argue that statement.
Except
Don't
me.
don't do that.
Well, go ahead.
Don't do that because you were the baby. So to a
Don't
degree,
tell
I
my
get it.
don't tell my story. Well, go ahead though.
Okay, that's right. It's about me. um, so she was very strict with me. My mom, and she was definitely one of those parents that would tell you, "Street light, come on, where you supposed to be." And she wasn't the type of parent that would say it and wouldn't honor it. Because if the street light came on and I was not walking through that door, there was a problem. There was a major problem. So I applaud that and I appreciate that because that's what made me the woman I am. There clearly, growing up in early 20s, even down to our early 30s, we were still a little wild, even though I was married. I was married, but still a little wild to a degree. However, I realized throughout the years of having my own children and even godchildren, because I have a plenty of godchildren and now grandchildren, I
A plenty.
realized that yes, honey, I have plenty. If I said her name, you'd be like, "Good Lord." I have at least 8 godchildren. Yes, and know them all except one. There's one that unfortunately I don't have a relationship with, which I hate, but it's not. It's beyond my control. Um, but yes, my god babies. I've raised. I even raised one of my godchildren. Believe it or not. I raised her for a generous amount of years. She lived with me. I took care of her, took her to school, did everything a mom would do for their own child. And I have another godchild that I did that for very briefly. So me being a mom and being raised by a strong Black woman instilled a lot in me of how to become a mom, a mother who's going to be active, a mother who's going to, feed off of what your children need, and just all around mom, a person to just be there regardless if it's your child or not. And I have that as well. I have nieces and nephews that thought my house was the go-to in the summertime, and Aunt Kishy, because that's what everybody called me, Aunt Kishy.
Kishi.
It was Aunt Kishy or Aunt Kissy. It was one of the two. And there was Aunt Kishy, can I come over this weekend? And weekend turned into weeks and turned into months almost. And I loved it because I'm such a mother to them all. And right is right and wrong is wrong. I did not have a problem because of the way mom raised me, correcting wrong, regardless if you my niece, nephew, or a friend in the neighborhood.
So okay, with that, I believe I heard boundaries. We have a parent, and we're talking about motherhood, but as having parents, we knew there was certain things that we should do, that we shouldn't say, certain ways that we had to respond. I'm just talking about. I know me personally. I grew up in a household with my mother and my sibling, and you already said it. I don't know why you said it, but they consider me to be the baby. I'm the youngest of 9,
Mhm.
so I was always with my mother, always around my mother, and I knew there were certain ways I had to respond, certain things. It wasn't like a military type of strict, but it was just the respect part.
Right.
Um, and the boundary part was just knowing my role as a child and my place as a child. So I said
Mhm.
all that to say, what do you feel as though is was is do you see anything? Do you see any of that missing today? That's what I really want to ask. Do you see
Absolutely.
any of that missing today? And
Absolutely.
what and how would you, if you had the power to change that, what would you say or do?
That part I really don't know. I really don't know. I didn't expect you to ask me that seriously.
And that's
So
a
that I
little
have
it's
to
a
give
little
some thought
strong.
to. Yeah, yeah, I have to give it some thought to that one. But to answer the first part of that question, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Things have really changed. A lot of us 40, almost 50 people say the generation now makes us want to cry, because to see the way a lot of the younger generation is now being brought up, and the way they speak to their parents, the way they respect their parents, or lack thereof, um, is uncanny. You see a lot of it in stores. You see a lot of it just walking in the mall. You see disrespect. And
Mhm.
how would I change that? Or what do I feel would change that? I really don't know. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't know. There's probably people listening that's not very religious or whatever the case may be, but I'm just keep it real with you. We need to get a lot of our babies back in the church. We need to get a lot of our babies back in the word. We need to get a lot of our babies understanding right from wrong, what you can or cannot do, and believing in the law. But when you have younger parents, and I'm not going to knock younger parents,
Right.
because I know a lot of younger parents that are actually pretty good parents, seriously. But when you have younger parents that are still young minded, that's hard. That's hard.
Glad you said
But
that
you got
too.
to remember,
Yeah.
we all have to get there, because again, I'm almost 50 years old. I didn't get there overnight. It took some practice. It took some learning. It took some of what mom instilled into me to actually bring forth. So I had to remember, okay, mom raised me like this. How do I want my children to be raised? How do I want my grandchildren to be raised? How do I want my god babies, my nieces, my nephews, for the most part, they're all pretty much adults, but they had to get there. And I had like to say that I had a hand in a lot of them getting there, because again, Aunt Kishi's house was the place to be. But I also have a 13-year-old at home. So don't make fun of me. 13-year-old. So I noticed that I have to raise him a little bit differently than I raised my 26-year-old, because
And why would you say
he's
why?
coming.
Why would you have to do that? Why would you say
One,
that?
he's a boy, she's a girl. That's one.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and two
Yeah. Big
and
difference.
two
That's a big
and
difference.
two. Yeah, big difference, big difference. Because again, that's how mom was with me and Troy. So I mean, it is what it is. But and two, he's coming up in a little bit of a different time than she came up. So things are a bit different versus, my 26-year-old. So I realize now that it's more of a technical world. The youngins nowadays are so smart with the computers and the iPads and iPods and I this and I that. They're so familiar and so brilliant when it comes to things of that nature, that they feel that that's all that's needed. Well, we have to step back and go back old school sometimes and say, no, that's not all that's needed. I need you to put that down. I need you to come over here and pick up a book. So my son is a bit different. My daughter, I do will admit that there are things that I did with my daughter that I wish I could have done differently. So I try now to do those things differently with my son. Because I want him to realize, number one, I'm going to always be here if you need me. If you need to talk, I don't care. Let's talk. I may not like it. I may not agree with it, but let's talk. I want you to talk to me. I don't want you to talk to them in the street. Um, Chastising. I chastise him differently. Her female to female, it was a bit more harsh than it is with my son. I chastise him a little differently and get dad involved as well. Because again, times are different now. And you don't want to feel like you favoritizing one versus the other, but again, things are different. And he was born, she was going on 13 years old. So things are definitely different versus raising him versus raising her. So it's kind of hard to say what you can or cannot do or change. It's hard to say, because realistically, I would say getting them back in the word, getting them back in church, and getting them out of the electronics and in front of a book.
That's a issue that's been talked about forever and ever. But I don't see that being. I don't even think that's possible. I mean, it can be shared. I believe it can be shared, but
Mhm.
we live in a technological era now, and there's nothing we can do about it except either deal with it,
Pretty,
move on, accept
pretty
it,
much.
be a part of it, be a part of
Yeah.
it, and move on. Learn what we can learn and move on. Um, but you hit on something too about put the laptop. I mean, put the tablet down, or the phone down for a minute and read a book. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of times, we don't. I personally see a lot of people that don't even that. don't know how to do certain things, like as far as cleaning, cooking. A lot of people don't even cook no more. Everybody wants to order out, DoorDash, and all this stuff. So a lot of things that we grew up on, they're growing up a little different. But we also had, one thing that I always had to had to keep reminding myself is things are going to change. The same way we're discussing this now, the generation before us was saying the same thing about us as when we were
Yes.
when we were young.
Yes.
So it's going to be the same thing, but it is. But we do notice these things as
Yeah.
if we're open minded, we notice that we notice the situation, but we also know we have to play a part in um, making the situation a little more. I'm just gonna say make the situation better for both sides, and not try to keep it one sided. Because I
Mhm.
think that sometimes the youth feel like we're coming down on them really like too hard, and I really believe that sometimes we do because our expectation. Because you mentioned the word earlier, balance, as far as motherhood, childhood, mother and child. So when you talk about balance, what do you mean when you say balance?
What I mean when I say balance is I mean trying to balance my life as being a mom, as being a grandmom, as being an auntie, as being whatever, as outside of being a professional. Um, Basically, being a parent is hard. It's hard enough as it is. So we have to learn as parents how to balance that life in order to be able to make sure we have time for our children over here versus our professional life. And it's hard. It really is hard, but you as the parent have to figure out a way to balance. Because at the end of the day, the one thing you don't want, and it happens all the time, but as a parent, you really don't want your child to fall by the wayside. You don't want your child to be considered a statistic. You want better as a parent. You want better for your child. You want better for your child than you had.
You
And
had.
I noticed that my mom wanted better for me and my brother. And to a degree, she got that. To a degree, she really did get that. And I don't think my mom is disappointed. But I'm sure there's things we could do differently because, again, we're not perfect people. There's things we could do differently, and there's things that we could do better, and things that we could change. And I try to instill that in my children because, again, not perfect people. Um, Shoot, I wanted to touch something. I'm sorry, and I totally lost train of that thought. Um, but the balance part comes in us. We have to figure out that balance. We can't expect our children to figure it out. We can't expect anybody to figure it out for us. We have to do it. So I've learned that even though my son loves electronics, my
Mhm.
son he's a big electronic person and can figure anything out. Okay, show mommy. So I interact with him. Show me how you did that. Show me how I can do that. The kids are teasing me now because I just got my very first iPhone. So the kids are still working with me with this iPhone. I've had it 2 weeks now, and I still have about a trillion things to learn. So I
Yeah.
call my son. I call
Yeah.
my son, and I say, "Son, help me, show me." So we're interacting with each other. I'm being mom, but he's teaching mom how to do this, that, and the third, even though he get a little attitude when he do, but he still teaches mom how to do this, that, and the third. So I feel there's that balance. Yes,
Was-
yes, I am a little bit of a slow buddy when it comes to things of that nature. So I'll go call my son, and I have my son come in and interact with me, spending time with mom, teaching mom some things, and vice versa. He'll come in the kitchen with me, and I'll teach him some things in the kitchen, how to cook this, how to feed, a season this, how to do that. So you have to find that balance, despite being a professional, busy, not busy, whatever the case may be. You have to find a balance when it comes down to spending time and interacting with your children and teaching your children. Because even with me, 40 something years old, I'll still call mom, can you teach me how to do such and such and such and such? Teaching your children. So you're never out of parent mode, regardless if I'm at work or if I'm at the park hanging out with a friend of mine. I'm never out of mom mode. I'm always calling, y'all good, everybody okay? Or during the work day, they'll call me, hey mom, how's your day going? I'm never out of mom mode, regardless what I do. So, but you
what-
have to find that balance.
and being as far as teaching, you know, sometimes we can tell somebody something, but that's still not, in my opinion, telling somebody something and showing somebody something, two totally different things. Because one thing might go in and out. You know,
Mhm.
but
Right.
when we actually break it down and show show our children or whoever it is how
Mm-hmm.
to do something, it sticks with you a little more. I believe, I know
Right.
for me,
Right.
'cause one of my biggest things as growing up was my mom. Like, I'm not gonna say we grew up with with all the fancy stuff, but we never knew that we never went without, you know, and
Right.
we were always taught, about standing, walking straight up and speaking, speaking and not just talking, uh,
Mm-hmm.
speaking with a little grammar, like different things. And those are things that stick with me to this day as far as like I said earlier, like cleaning and cooking. Me personally, I don't need a woman to cook for me. I'm not gonna starve. I know how to cook. So yeah, y'all just need to know that. I'm not gonna starve. But just little things like that. And like
Right.
some, like even at work now, some things even stick, all that little type of stuff. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
you put the knife in the dishwater and nobody can see it because it's soapy and sudsy, you reach in there and then you cut your hand. Little stuff
Yeah.
like that. You
Yeah.
know, but I think when we grew up, it was more hands on because we didn't have the distraction of electronics and all that stuff. It was more family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And um, it was just a more of a it was a word I was looking for. There it is. It just hit me. That's what happens when you get old. Mother's love. The mother's love.
Mother's love.
A
Yes.
mother's love is something that is like you can't really describe me. It's like the balance part again because love you to life.
Yeah.
Just but as soon as you do something crazy or something out of place, you definitely gonna know. You're definitely gonna know about it, but it's in love.
You're
So
right. Right.
how do you feel? You mentioned earlier about chastising. You know, I was thinking discipline, but you said chastising. So how does that work? How does that work out with a mother from a mother's point of view? I'm not a mother, so
Well, okay.
don't get yourself in trouble.
Well, well, sometimes you just gotta put your foot down. Enough is enough, and you gotta get ugly. I'm sorry, but that's the best way I can put it. You gotta get ugly, and when it comes down to chastising, I can give you an example. My son, I just had a little bit of an issue with my son, but it wasn't anything major. But I had to get a little bit ugly with him,
Before the
and
situation gets worse.
right, right, right. And here's the thing about my son. My son is over 6 feet, and he's only 13 years old. So I feel like chastising him is a task. I have to go get my baseball bat, and I
That's a
say
lot.
that, and I'm
That's a
not
lot of
gonna hurt him.
chastising.
I'm not gonna hurt him. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I have to go get my baseball bat sometime and remind him, "Mommy, I chopped them knees," because he's so tall. But what I find is when you have a good relationship with your children, despite when you have a pretty good relationship with your children, you don't want to chastise them, but when you have to, you have to.
Yeah.
And the thing about my son, because him and I have such a good relationship, if I have to chastise him, it breaks his heart. It breaks his heart, and he's just upset, and he just goes off to himself. But he'll come back later, and he'll apologize to mom. He will apologize, and he will, "Mommy, I love you." I hear love, "I love you" from him more than I've ever heard it from anybody in my life. I'm so serious. Every chance he gets, "Mommy, I love you. Mommy, I love you," and I know he does. He shows it. Um, so I know that I'm doing something right, whether it's me chastising him, or whether it's me hanging out with him, or whether it's him and I in the kitchen cooking, or you know, doing something on the electronics, watching a movie, whatever the case may be. Again, balance. Regardless if we have the fun time or not, we still have to remember I'm mom. And at the end of the day, I'm going to always be mom, and I'm not going to allow the disrespect. I'm not going to allow the uh, anger, the attitudes. I'm not allowing any of that. My mom didn't care when we had an attitude or we got upset. Long as we did not come to mom and do this or
Yeah.
be disrespectful, because we still alive. So we were
Yeah.
good. So that's the things that had to be carried over. I had to remind, hey, even though we say that I brought you in, I'll take you out. We ain't killing our kids. We ain't killing our kids. But we let them know I'm putting the fear of God in you because at the end of the day, I'm mom. And what I say, go. You don't have to like it, but you have no choice but to deal with it as long as you're here. So my chastising is a little bit different because spanking days is over with clearly. So my chastising days are, yeah, I went there. I spanked my kids. I got them.
Not
I
six
got
feet,
them.
6 foot 13-year-old. I don't think you're putting them over your knee too
Well,
much.
that's why I said them days is over. them days is gone for that one right there. Listen, I got to look up at him and listen, son. so them days is over with. But my son knows who's the boss. My son knows who's the boss.
Yeah,
He may tell you, I'm not afraid of mom. Yeah, okay. Okay. So
because
so
because he knows how
I
because he know how
huh,
far to carry it. You don't have a reason to be afraid of mom because he know how far
there
to
you go.
carry it. Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
There you go. We've had our moments. We have had our moments. Clearly, he's a teenage boy. We have had our moments. But at the end of the day, my son respects me and he definitely shows his love. He does.
All right. I so my question to you is, with everything you just said, my question to you is, there are some younger women, some young girls, younger women that are uh, coming into coming into motherhood. What
Mhm.
advice would you have? What advice would you offer? What advice would you have to offer? As say we have a 18, 19, 20-year-old young mother. Just she's pregnant. She's about to have a child, or she's just had a child. The baby is a year old. What advice
Mhm.
do you have to her?
Hmm. Well, I didn't want to bring this up, but I will. I
But that's why
my
you should.
I became a mother at 18, my first child,
Mm,
which would be 30 if she was living. So what I would say as a young mom, excuse me, as a young mom, what I would say, and this is why I didn't want to bring this up,
mm,
I would say cherish the moments you have with your child, love your child, let your child know that you're going to always be there. You're not perfect. Clearly, you're not perfect. None of us are perfect, and we're going to make mistakes. But just let your baby know that I'm mom. Nurture that baby, love that baby, care for that baby. Never allow that baby to feel like you're not there because to lose a child as a teenager was tough. It was really tough. So if I could do it all over again, there's a lot of things that I would have done different. So what I say to the youngins, because I have, I know of a situation. I'm not going to get into saying who and what and where and why, but I know of a
mm.
situation where I really wish things could change for the sake of this young lady and her children. But we have to want that as moms, as parents. We have to want better for our children than we had for ourselves. So it starts from the moment you have that child. Again, especially if you have a child so young and you're still a child yourself, it's hard. It is hard, but it's very doable because I know quite a few young mothers right now who are phenomenal moms. They worship the ground their children walk on. And I would say definitely cherish the moments, the time you have with your child. Love your child, hold your child, let your child know that if nobody else is there, you're there. Your children, I'm not going to say child, your children. If no one else is there, you're there. And give them the love and the nurturing they need. Because again, you could be like me and regret that decision for the rest of your life.
I had to give you that little applause because I'm just gonna let it be known you were nervous when we were talking, and you didn't want to, you didn't know what was going to happen, but there you are, you got it out, and there's some things we have to work through in life. There's some things we're going to have to go through in life as you being a mother, as as the children, as father. We're all going to go through something. We're all going to have to go through something, but we're going to
Absolutely.
have to move through it. We're going to have to work our way through it. So,
Amen. Amen.
I think the toughest, I think the toughest part of this conversation is coming up right now. Grandma, my mom, my, my mom,
Whatever. I love my babies.
grandmother,
I have two
grandmother,
beautiful
grandmother is just the,
granddaughters.
it's the, come on, grandmother is just big. Come on, it's the biggest part of it's mom all over again. So come
Indeed,
on,
it is. Oh
give
my
us a little insight.
God.
What is grand? So we're still talking about motherhood, but it's still in the same. It's still all in the same realm.
It's the same.
What
It
is
is. It really is.
grandmotherhood like? What is grandmotherhood like for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been a grandmother now for 10 years. My oldest
Oh, so
grandbaby, whatever. My oldest grandbaby is 10, and my baby will be 2 in December. They are my hearts. I love them so much. Especially that little teeny one. She's terrible. She's terrible. But that's my little
that's the one you
bestie.
love the most.
No, no, no. I love them both equally. But that's my little
I
best
knew you was
friend
gonna say
there.
that. I knew it. I knew you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say that.
That's my little best friend. My little best friend to come down the hallway. Mimi,
And
Mimi.
why do you feel?
I lost you. I lost you. I can't hear you.
But why do you
I
feel
couldn't
that
hear.
way? Why do you feel that so attached? I mean, she's your grandbaby. She's your grand.
Well,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I hear you. Well,
Can you
one,
hear
she
me now?
lives with me. I hear you.
Okay, so
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
All right. So the grandbaby. She's a grandbaby, so you're gonna love her. You're gonna have the feelings and
Yeah.
emotions for this little baby, and want the best for her, and do everything you can to make sure that she succeeds.
Uh-oh.
Is there a
Yeah.
difference the way that you raise your grandchildren
You
compared
frozen.
to
I
the way
can't
that
hear
you
you.
raise
I'm
your
sorry.
children?
Mm-mm. I can't hear you, Derek. I don't know if you can hear me.
I just lost my little connection. So yeah, I just wanted
Okay.
to ask this question before we wrap it up because this is getting it's about to start acting crazy. But is there a difference the way that you're raising your grandchild, your grandchildren, compared to the way that you raise your children?
There's always a difference. And if anybody got on this podcast and try to tell you something different, I tell them to their face their lie. When it comes down to your grandchildren, I'm just gonna flat out put it out there. When it comes down to your grandbabies versus your kids, it is a different type of love. It really is. You love them all. That's a
Mhm.
given. But there's a different type of love when it comes to your grandchildren. And it's hard to explain unless you are a grandparent. But honey, listen, my grandbabies get away with murder. They get,
Is
especially
that
the little one, especially
is
that
that a good
little
thing?
one.
Is that a
Not
good thing?
necessary. It's not necessarily a good thing. But the one
Yeah.
thing I will tell you, they don't get me wrong, because I don't have a problem. Listen, it don't matter. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And at the end of the day, I don't have a problem chastising the 10-year-old. I don't have a problem tapping the little fingers of the 2-year-old. Because at the end of the day, I'm still, whether I'm mom or whether I'm grandma, you still have to have a respect level. Now, do we allow the little people to get away with more than we allowed our children to get away with? Yeah, we do. We really do. But again, it's just a different type of love with your grandchildren than it is with your kids. And then on top of that, you can send them home. You can send them
Spoil them and send
home.
them home.
Yeah, you can send them home. So that's the perk of having grandchildren versus your own children. So I love my babies. My grandbabies, like I said, are almost 2 and 10, and which would be Unique and Delilah. And I love them so much. And they love me. And you can tell they love me. I'm gonna tell you this joke before we get off. I told my daughter one day. I told my daughter one day. Me, her, and I, and my 10-year-old were all sitting together in my room, and we were talking about something. And then my grand, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had told my daughter. I said, Tyra, do you know that if you and I were hanging off of a cliff, do you know which one of us Unique would save? And my daughter looked at me and she said, "Who would she say?" I said, "We would." I said, "Honey, we would just have to bury you. That's all I can tell you because she gonna save my mom." Do you know my granddaughter? My
But
granddaughter looked at her mom and said,
That was that's sad though. But the reason I asked that question was because I wanted to know. We talked about the balance part, and we talked about you raising your child, and we talked about raising your children, and we talked about you raising your grandchildren. But I wanted to know where do you balance? Where is the balance at when it's time for uh, the child for the child's parent or parents to handle the child after they've been with the grandma? Because a lot of times the grandmother wants to save the child from getting disciplined or this and that. Where's
Yeah,
the
I've done
balance
that.
at? Where's the balance at?
I've done that. I have done that. I have. But then I have to remember that that's her child. Those are her children. And at the end of the day, regardless if I like it or not, she has to be mom. I have to respect the fact that she is mom. We don't like it because my mom was the same way. She would get on me if I tried to tap her or say something to Ryan. She leave them kids alone. Leave them kids. I get it. I get it now because now that's me. But at the end of the day, we have to remember if we keep getting involved and trying to intervene with the mom or the dad or whatever the case may be, chastising or discipline their children, then what kind of
That
role model are we really being? Because that's basically letting the kids know that when I'm with grandma or granddad, I can do whatever. So when I go
start
home with
causing that
mom, I want to do
start
whatever.
causing that
And then
division.
yeah, and
Right.
then mom is or dad is no no no, we're not having that. And then the child is confused because like, well, I can do this over mama. I was like, I can't do this here. So
But
we as grandparents have to stop that. We do.
they already know that though. Like the first couple times, I think they already know that at the first couple times. They know children. They know what's happening. They see
Yeah, they do.
who's acting what kind of way when they do certain things, and who's letting them get away with this, and who's spanking them. They know. That's why they're gonna run to you and jump on your lap and
Uh-huh.
they're gonna look back at the parent like as if to say,
Uh-huh.
So
And that
yeah.
and that's the reason why if I was hanging across that cliff, I would be the one saved.
Until they get home and get that butt whipping from something they did 2 days ago because you called yourself trying to save them, not knowing that they got home and got their little mind whooped.
Yeah, it was coming when they got home, pretty much. But
All right.
it's just something about being a grandparent. It is. I love my granddaughters. My granddaughters are my world. But at the end of the day, you got to remember, you are the grandparent. So there is a line that you cannot cross. We not saying we won't, but there's a line that you should not cross. I'm gonna put it that way. Should not cross when it comes down to you versus mom or dad. Because at the end of the day, that's their children. You're the grandparent. Yes, you can offer advice. Yes, you can help. But keep in mind, it takes a village. It clearly takes a village. And that is a true statement that has gone on for years and will continue to go on. It takes a village to raise children. So my grandbabies, I am part of their village. I try to stay in my lane, but I
No, she
can't.
don't.
It's hard. I don't.
That's,
I don't. I
that's,
don't.
that's not what y'all do. I can say
That's
y'all
not.
'cause I'm not grandparent, but that's what y'all do. Especially
Yeah.
women. Especially women. That's what y'all do. All nosy and never mind. Let me be quiet. But
Really?
that was a thought that escaped. It was a thought that
Really?
just escaped. My bad. My fault.
Oh my gosh.
But I do want to let me hit you one more time with your applause because of the fact that
Thank you.
you made it through this episode basically. I don't want to say unscathed because we had a little technical issue for a second. We
It's
moved over,
okay.
but you made it through, and now you can have something to look back on and say, "I did it." You can on this huge platform here called Life Chat Podcast. No, but is there anything you want to add to the conversation before we close out?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on. Again, you're right. I was a bit nervous, but at the end of the day, it was just a conversation between two old buddies, so it's no big deal. But I thank you
Yeah,
for having me on. And if I could offer any advice to anyone, just love them. Just love your kids. Love your kids. Show them you love them. Let them know that if they ever need you, I'm here. I'm not gonna always say my door gonna be open, but I'm joking. I'm joking. My door is always open. If you need me, If you need someone to talk to, if you need someone to cry with, if you need someone to just be there, you need a moment to vent, let's be here. As parents, let's be here. It takes villages. So let's be here, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of folks, a lot of kids who did not, who were not afforded that privilege. Foster kids, kids who got shifted off to other homes, within families, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of children that not have the luxury of having a mother or even a father in the household to be there and show them that love. So if you have the opportunity to do so, please do it, because these days are numbered. Tomorrow is not promised. And at the end of the day, the one thing you don't want to do is wake up with regrets. There you have
Okay.
it.
That was pretty okay. That was pretty strong there. It almost made me sweat. But all
My
right.
word.
Thank you for thank you for being off tonight, Miss Freeman, Miss Lakisha Freeman. Not
Thank
Keisha, but Miss Lakisha Freeman.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being off
Thank you for
tonight.
getting that right.
Also, thank everybody for watching the Live Chat podcast tonight, and thank for those that will be watching later on tonight, either the repeat on Facebook or the video on YouTube. Thank you. Have a great night. Be safe. Be blessed.
Thank you.